giant Taco Bell breakfast.
I'm amazing. Surely it's easy to be inspired by me.
I'm currently under attack. Please, please.
Somebody said that their job made them feel worse mentally.
What?
I'm from the Bronx. Don't mess with me.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm back. Again, it's been a few months. Let it go already, okay? I know you've been begging me to make a new video. Every day I wake up, all my messages are like, oh my god, where's your new video? Here it is. So, today we've got a bit of a doozy. This is gonna be a little controversial, I believe. Sound off in the comments your opinions. I'd actually love to know what your opinion on this is. I'd love for you guys to weigh in a little bit. With that being said, welcome to my channel. I would love it if you would consider liking and subscribing, because I make videos every once in a while. And I think I'm pretty cool and I think I have some good opinions. Once again, I'm gonna be looking here. That's where my script is. I have a lot of things to say, so I'm sorry if I'm not looking at you. I think you look beautiful and you're very cute today. Did you get your hair done? It looks really good. So the big question for today is, what responsibility does an audience have when a person's suffering becomes entertainment? I'm sure that if you are on the internet, more specifically TikTok, literally at all ever, you've become familiar over the past few months of a man called Tyler Catastrophe.
Could we just take a second to appreciate how great my ass looks in these jeans?
Yes. If you've been on the internet for longer than that, then you know Chris Chan and Nova Online and Tofia Chu and World of T-Shirts and Daniel Larson and Amberlyn Reed and Louis Tino and Jupiter and Fibs and 100 more people who you've laughed at and sent to your friends and reposted and memed into the ground. There is a moment that happens online when these people are no longer seen as people. A video gets shared, maybe a clip gets taken out of context, someone makes a reaction video, maybe a subreddit or snark page appears, and eventually the person disappears, and what remains is an endless source of content, just ready to be milked. The internet has a word for people like that. Lolcow, a term for someone that we collectively watch and mock and suck every drop of sweet, sweet entertainment from. Entire online ecosystems now form around watching unstable, often self-destructive, self-isolated, and typically neurodivergent or socially stunted people just completely unravel on public platforms like TikTok or Instagram. More commonly TikTok. A lot of the time, if not most of the time, the spectacle made out of these people is justified by the fact that they have a questionable digital footprint. And to that I say, is there no goddamn nuance anymore? Is the whole world black and white? And when someone does something shitty, they deserve to have millions of people pooping down their mouths about it. Please do not go spread hate to any of these people. Obviously. My whole point here is that we shouldn't be doing this in the first place. So please, for the love of God, do not go commenting on their pages or reposting or liking or sharing or anything like that. Do not interact with any of these people at all, please. Obviously, there have been times when people, the cows if you will, have done some truly loathsome things. We'll go into it. Most of these people suck. But again, as with every situation, the world is not black and white. It requires nuance. And with that being said, who made us the authority? Who made random people on the internet judge, jury, and executioner? In this video, I'm going to be dissecting what I have deemed as the 3 horsemen of cringe culture, and diving into some of the people who I believe fit these categories. Before we get into the categories, I think there's something obviously important to establish. The easiest way to talk about these people is to immediately flatten them into characters. That is, after all, what the internet does best. It takes a human with a history, a personality, whatever, dreams, insecurities, everything that consists of a life, and compresses them into a single category and identity. And some of these people obviously fit into more than one category, but I think I'll be putting them where I believe that they fit best based on their controversies that they are most famous for. And once someone reaches lolcow status, it becomes essentially impossible for them to escape. Every action that they take is no longer interpreted as the action of a person, but it becomes a new piece of evidence for a case that the internet has already decided the verdict on. We have completely inverted the way that we judge people when it's online. The standard is no longer innocent until proven guilty. Instead, it's quite the opposite. You are guilty the moment that you become embarrassing enough to repost. Despite the fact that many of these people have done truly awful things, we'll get into it, the crime they're being punished for is not the things that they've done, but just the fact that they're uncomfortable to witness. And the punishment is millions of people documenting your every move forever. Now, before anyone misunderstands what I'm saying, I want to make something extremely clear. Accountability obviously matters. Criticism matters. There are obviously people online who have caused real harm. Being a public figure does not make someone immune to consequences. There's a very important difference between accountability and public humiliation. Accountability asks, what did this person do? How can it be addressed? How can we keep them from causing harm again? And humiliation asks, how can we keep laughing at this person before the joke gets old? And the internet has become incredibly bad at telling the difference. A lot of these communities convince themselves that what they're doing is a form of justice, that they're exposing bad people, protecting others from potential harm, their endless monitoring and archiving and ridicule serves a greater purpose. However, let's put it into perspective here. If you are being publicly ridiculed for your looks or your personality, and you also just happen to be a bad person, you're not going to be focusing on the actual points that people are making against the harm you've caused. You just think that they're bullying you. I will go as far as to say that most of the people who contribute to lolcow culture truly believe that they're accomplishing something by reposting and commenting on these people's content. But I really do think that there's a simpler answer as to why we as a society continue to consume lolcow culture. It's fun. Watching someone spiral is entertaining. Watching someone fail socially is entertaining. Watching someone say something embarrassing, react badly, double down, and then make everything worse by doing so is super entertaining. And the uncomfortable truth is that human beings have always been fascinated by watching other human beings fall apart. Before social media, this existed in tabloids and talk shows. I think Dr. Phil was like the original lolcow creator.
Catch me outside, how about that?
The difference is that now anyone can directly participate. Anyone can become the person that's throwing the tomatoes at the stage. The crowd has no specific stadium anymore. The crowd is everywhere. And because the crowd is everywhere, the person on stage can never leave. So with all that being said, I would like to break down what I believe are the 4 major categories that these internet spectacles tend to fall into. Obviously, again, not every person fits into one specific box. There are patterns that appear throughout different people. A lot of them interact with each other and they're in different categories, things like that. These are the people who intentionally or unintentionally exaggerate situations or manipulate people into gaining sympathy. They claim that they're being wronged or refuse accountability, or they build their entire online identity around being the victim of every circumstance they happen to find themselves in. This can obviously get complicated because sometimes people are genuinely being mistreated. Sometimes they're just lying. A lot of the time, it's a combination. They might be exaggerating, they might be playing it up for the camera, they might be trying to just garner sympathy. But the internet as a whole struggles with the idea that someone can be both a victim and a perpetrator. And that brings us to people like Tyler Catastrophe and Tofia Chu.
I have had a crush on Will Gold since 2019 when I heard him laugh in the background of someone else's video, and it felt like life itself leaned in to listen.
As I've said, I'm sure that you are familiar with Tyler Catastrophe. If you are watching this video, you probably know something about cringe culture or the lolcow epidemic, I don't know, that we're seeing right now, and I'm sure that if you're familiar with that, you know who this guy is. So Tyler Catastrophe is a really interesting example because he represents a newer generation of lolcow culture. Unlike some of the older internet spectacles that grew slowly through forums and like dedicated communities like Kiwi Farms, Tyler's rise happened entirely through TikTok, which is an ecosystem in itself and an environment where people can become infamous in a matter of days, essentially. The traditional path of becoming a public figure usually involves like building an audience intentionally. You cultivate a brand, whatever you do in your content creation, you decide what parts of you want others to see. But unfortunately, with lolcows, the main thing that we see is that the audience often builds the brand for them. The person stops becoming the creator of the content and just becomes the content. They post a video like usual. People react to it, their reactions get more views than the original clip, and then people start searching for more moments. A common defense of these communities is that these people willingly put themselves online, and technically that is, like, obviously that is true, but the internet is very good at convincing people that because someone pressed post, anything that happens afterward is automatically deserved. Yeah, there's a rainbow. There's a rainbow outside. That's so cute. Tyler posted a video directed at the band Lovejoy, essentially auditioning for the band, asking them to consider a second vocalist.
No idea if one of my favorite bands might want a second vocalist, but I do know I am crazy enough to ask. So hi, Lovejoy. Do you want a second vocalist? My name is Tyler Salona. I'm 26 years old. I live in Texas, but I'm trying to move to England anyway. I'm a massive extrovert. I've been performing since I was 10, and in 2019, I was actually a semi-professional vocalist, but then had to spend almost 5 years getting my voice back after losing it completely because someone hit me with their car.
I personally think that it went, like, so viral for several reasons. First of all, he just isn't a very good singer.
Oh, so happy, I'm pretty going to get to know me.
Which I'm sorry. He's incredibly overconfident. And I think what drew people into him the most, even outside of that, was the fact that he has a very specific demeanor and way of speaking.
This is a long intro for TikTok, but we can over here, so listen to it. It's amazing.
I've seen it described as the Tumblr accent. If you know, you know. He speaks in a way that reminds people of the early 2010s Tumblr humor, and it is quite off-putting seeing just how trends change over time. He very much has that quote-unquote millennial humor, if you understand what I'm talking about. He's just very like XD random type thing. But once the video spread, people began reposting and making commentary mocking the idea of someone casually auditioning for an established band through TikTok. Now, before TikTok, someone would post this and people would be like, oh, haha, that's funny. And then they'd maybe like send it to a friend or think about it every once in a while or have like a niche thing that they reference. However, the audience reaction to it did intensify because the band's lead singer, Wilbur Soot, who we will get into in a minute, already had a pretty controversial reputation due to abuse allegations made against him by an ex-partner in 2024. And for the record, I believe Shovel. Yeah, fuck that guy. One that really catapulted the reactions to this audition was the fact that reportedly, like a couple years before he made that video, Tyler posted videos discussing having a crush on Wilbur. Not just a celebrity crush as one would have, but a real, genuine crush on a celebrity. In one TikTok that he made, he said that he had only interacted with Wilbur briefly one time, which was during a meet and greet, which he paid to go to, and that he had developed a genuine crush on him. Although having a celebrity crush is like pretty normal, critics of Tyler argued that thinking someone is cute from afar and genuinely believing that you might have like a chance with them is parasocial.
I know I can pull, and thinking to myself, hey, I bet if this guy knew me, he'd probably like me back. If there's a chance, is also not parasocial.
Which it is. He also posted several videos defending Wilbur after the abuse allegations.
I do not think that Wilbur Soot is an abuser. Because as someone who has been a victim of abuse, sexual assault, and domestic violence, I know way too well what those things look like.
And his Tumblr history, again, Tumblr, showed that he'd been posting it about hating Shovel before this. So, he also posted a TikTok where he said, listen, I'm a victim of abuse. I've been abused, so I know what abuse looks like, and this isn't abuse. Which obviously is not how abuse works, and is an incredibly self-centered way of thinking. This is probably the strongest, like, actual controversy attached to him because it involves a real moral question rather than just people finding him embarrassing. Now, the Tyler catastrophe lore is a black hole that I do not want to jump into right now because A, again, I'm sure you fucking heard this already, and B, this video would be like 7 hours long if I gave you his whole deep dive along with everyone else that I'm discussing. However, I will go over some brief but important points about him and his controversies. Around the same time that he was posting about his Wilbur Soot crush and defending him and whatever, he was also publicly talking about moving to Brighton, England, which is where Wilbur Soot lives. He also calls him Will Gold, which is not like a big thing, I guess, but it's super weird. You don't know him. Calling him by his full legal name instead of his stage name, which everyone else calls him, is super weird because you literally don't know him. And that's parasocial. Catastrophes from Texas, by the way. So he cited many different reasons why he wanted to move there, but Moving where your celebrity crush lives, regardless of what it's for, I think we can add a tick to the parasocial prison wall. So Tyler sells handmade jewelry and art, and viewers began criticizing the prices of some pieces. I'm not an art critic. However, there were some listings that reported to have reached hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tyler has talked, honestly, in almost every video that he's speaking in, about being hit by a vehicle and the effects that it allegedly had on his health and his ability to work. However, again, critics have questioned some aspects of his story, including claims about the severity of the accident.
I fell into a Tyler catastrophe-like rabbit hole, and I'm pretty sure this is a car accident where he totally Lexus with his body. An uninsured and unlicensed driving a Yamaha moped or motorcycle. The report does say that the person deemed at fault in this accident was the Yamaha for failure to yield right of way.
Another huge controversy with Tyler was the whole Stuart Semple situation, and for the record, I do not like Stuart Semple. Let this be known, I do not like Stuart Semple. I also don't like Taylor Catastrophe, but I really don't like Stuart Semple. Stuart Semple is a British artist known for founding Culture Hustle, which is a company that sells unique art materials like Blackest Black and Pinkest Pink and things like that. And he's a very famous artist. The connection between Tyler and Stuart began because Tyler admired Stuart's work and visited his studio in England. Again, England. Oh my god, this guy in fucking England. Controversy came from Tyler talking about having a job lined up at the Culture Hustle studio.
I'm trying to move to England. There's a job waiting for me. It's something that I specialize in, and it'll give me enough free time to also focus on my own work and building my own name. And I'm super excited. So it's gonna be with my friends, and it's awesome. Because right now I have an incredible job working with amazing people in England waiting for me. And I just have to get.
I just love asking for help on the internet because I found my dream job and I got my dream job, but I gotta go to the dream job. And the only way to do that is to pay to get there. So I made this thing.
See, I managed to land my dream job after years and years of work.
According to Tyler's own statements, the situation went roughly like this.
So I flew halfway around the world to meet an artist named Stuart Semple. With the help of the scheduling director at the time, I got to spend some time in the Culture Hustle studio. I made amazing friends, I helped work on some things, and it was the most inspired I had ever been in my life. I definitely did not want to leave, ever. Before this visit, during this visit, after this visit, me and Stuart had messaged back and forth quite a few times. I thought he was great. But then, of course, I got back to the States, realized I really didn't want to be there anymore, and I wanted to go back to England. So I took a chance, which is what got me to the studio in the first place. And I asked Stuart outright, hey, I need to be out of my current living place by this time. If I can get the funding together, if I can make the move happen, would you hire me? And when he said that we could probably make that happen, I was ecstatic. I was over the moon. And looking back, that really was just a positive maybe, but it really felt like a yes in the moment. But as we got closer to the time that I had given Stuart that I needed to move, all communication stopped.
Paul is a real estate novelist who never had time for a wife.
I was staring homelessness in the eye and begging it to flinch, because at the end of last year, I got really screwed over. I was supposed to have a job in England waiting for me, and then they pulled out at the very last minute. And I was supposed to be working for Stuart Semple of Blackest Black and Culture Hustle fame. I was actually supposed to be working for him as part of Culture Hustle, and obviously, I'm not. And I don't like dragging names if I don't have to, but some people were guessing, messaging me to guess, and I would rather be honest than allow speculation. My career was in a full upswing. I had just done my first solo exhibition. I was being handed so many opportunities. As stupid as it sounds, I was kind of a local celebrity, but I knew that my dreams were a whole lot bigger than Texas, and I needed something else. And after getting to go to England and visit the Culture Hustle studio and absolutely fall in love with the work they do there, and after looking up to Stuart Semple for like half my life, I asked if I could work for him, and he said that we could figure something out. And he knew that I had a deadline to make it happen, but once that deadline started approaching, he completely ghosted me for a month. But the closer we got to that deadline, the less I got. But eventually I just went around him to his assistant, and she was kind enough to give me the no that I needed. Actually, fuck Stuart Semple. I've been so incredibly pissed off at the way this man fucked me over for over a year, and I don't like being angry. I traveled 8,000 miles to spend a day in the Culture Hustle studio, completely fell in love with it while doing what was actually free labor now that I think about it. And then he starts looking for a new assistant, and I'm told to apply, so I do. And then when I don't get that job, honestly, really glad I didn't. I'm not made to be someone else's assistant. So I asked him point blank, hey, can I have a different job in the studio, and I'll just move to England, I'll raise the funds myself, I've got to be out by this date, could it happen? And he said yes. So what do? I put my career on hold, sell basically almost everything else I own, start turning down opportunities thinking I'm gonna be in a different country when they happen, doing the work because I go all in or nothing. And what does he do? Fucking ghosts me. Once where I was getting him opportunities with even bigger artists, because in my head we were friends. What the fuck? And while I'm being actively ghosted by this man, he posts on his Instagram story, replying to someone asking for a job, telling them to apply. But you can't answer me. And eventually I get so fucking fed up and out of my mind that I have to go to his assistant and be like, hey, can you just fucking tell me if this is happening or not? And she's like, no, I'm so sorry. We hope you have a good life. And I'm like, fuck off, okay.
When communication stopped between him and Stuart Semple, Tyler said that he felt abandoned and betrayed. From this, you'd be like, yeah, that sucks. Why would he do that? However, Tyler later spoke online about feeling like Stuart had ghosted him and that the entire situation had damaged his career plans because Tyler presented the situation as if he had a confirmed job offer that had been withdrawn, creating sympathy and financial support from viewers because, again, he started a GoFundMe where he was going to raise, I think, $13,000 to move to Brighton. And he phrased it as, please help a trans man leave Texas. And obviously, people want to help this person who's clearly in an unsafe environment leave. However, he wasn't entirely forthcoming about that. However, according to Stuart Semple's response to this whole fiasco, there was never actually a job offer. Stuart stated that Tyler had visited the studio for about half an hour but that Tyler had misunderstood the interaction completely and that the position that Tyler believed existed was not actually offered. People saw this as Tyler creating a victim narrative around something that was ultimately a misunderstanding.
A few people on here are saying that this isn't actually my TikTok account and it's some sort of fan thing. It is me. I just don't really use it. But hi, it's the real thing. It is me.
There are moments where he clearly misread situations or responded poorly to criticism. But the question is not whether Tyler has ever been embarrassing online. Of course he has. Everyone who exists publicly online eventually says something awkward or does something embarrassing or has a moment that they wish they could take back. I know I do, dude.
If I tell you I love you, can I keep you forever?
Oh my god. Who let me have a phone? And this is the thing about lolcow culture. Once someone reaches that point, they stop being allowed to exist normally. And again, I do not like Tyler Catastrophe. I don't like him. I think if I met him in person, I wouldn't like him. Obviously, I don't know him. But, you know, the things he does, the things he says, the way he acts, I don't love him super a lot. Defending abuse, I don't really like him very much. And some of his choices online have definitely made the attention worse, such as doubling down on the abuse defense. Things like that. And a lot of the criticism that he's receiving is absolutely deserved. But, as much as we don't want to think about it, at the end of the day, Tyler Catastrophe is a real person who became trapped inside of a narrative that millions of strangers helped to create. He absolutely deserves to be held accountable, but being attacked for every breath that he takes will not cultivate an environment where genuine change is possible. Tofia's online presence has been surrounded by controversy for years, with discussions often focusing on her behavior and her relationship with the audience watching her. Tofia Chu, whose real name is Tofia Rain, became known primarily through live streaming on platforms like TikTok. She originally gained attention through creating My Little Pony Friendship is Magic fandom content. I love My Little Pony. I love My Little Pony. Side note, I love it. And she later transitioned into just general live streaming, where she became known for long live streams that discussed internet drama and personal struggles, and she often argued with her viewers and talked about her financial situation, and it was just like, you know, a whole thing. She really let people into her life. One of the earliest parts of Tofia's online history involved trolls mocking her appearance and creating nicknames, most famously Tofupa. Yeesh. Like many lolcow situations, the original criticism evolved into a community dedicated to watching and provoking her. It's all one big beautiful cycle. It will always be one big beautiful cycle, and we can't escape it, and we can never escape it. When a creator is stuck in a cycle like this, at a certain point, the audience is actively participating in creating the content. One of the most common criticisms of Tofia is that she doesn't work hard enough, or she refuses traditional employment.
Somebody said that their job made them feel worse mentally. And you're sitting here saying like a job will make you feel good mentally. You know that is a lie.
Her and her family have a history of poverty. They have reportedly been bouncing from hotel to motel and struggling to pay for things. And Tofia chooses not to contribute by getting a job because she thinks that she'll eventually make enough money from social media. Tofia Chu's in this category because she also has a history of creating GoFundMes, claiming that they're for some things and then they're actually not.
I don't have access to the GoFundMe. It's sitting there. GoFundMe needs to give me the money and GoFundMe's not.
First GoFundMe that she made was intended for paying the rent that her and her family owed, and she ended up spending it on Comic-Con, I believe, allegedly, and she made her and her family homeless as a result, allegedly. So, yeah. I think she's made like 4 GoFundMes, and she never spends them on what she says she will. So,
hey guys, so, hi, my name is Tofia. I go by Tofia Chu.
Tofia Chu represents the uncomfortable middle ground of lolcow culture. She's someone who has obviously just made some god-awful choices and openly sought attention and, you know, just took money from people online. But she's also someone whose financial struggles and family situation and personal life have become entertainment for thousands of strangers. Obviously, again, there's a lot of nuance to this. Not everybody has the privilege to go out and get a job. However, this criticism of her was, again, just snowballed by the fact that she also has a history of inappropriate conduct with minors, animal abuse, and racism. If the first category is about people who become spectacles because of their own behavior, then the second category is about people who actively invite conflict, and they sort of build an entire identity around it. These are the people who the audience often feels the strongest sense of justification towards, because unlike someone who's simply embarrassing, these figures are often accused of intentionally provoking people and making the situation worse for themselves. But outrage is still attention, and on the internet, attention is power.
It's happening now. We're on the very last thread. It's happening right now. Why are you yelling? We're living it. The merge, baby. If Batman's your hero, you're gonna meet him very soon.
If there is one person who represents the absolute extreme end of lolcow culture, it is Chris Chan. I will be using she, they pronouns when talking about Chris Chan because although there's a significant amount of discourse and confusion online surrounding their pronouns and identity, she identifies as a woman, and so that is what I'm going to use. I know that many people use they, them. I know that many people use she, her. I know that some people use he, him, but I will be using she, they because that's what I believe is the most correct for the current situation. Chris Chan, originally known online as Christian Weston Chandler, later changed to Christine Chandler, is arguably one of, if not the most documented people in internet history.
For something completely different. Electric hedgehog power. Pew! This would be me in my super mode.
And I don't mean documented in a way that a famous movie star is documented. I mean that for over a decade, thousands of people dedicated an absurd amount of time to archiving and analyzing and interfering with almost every aspect of their life. The situation surrounding Chris Chan involves a real criminal case, and some truly abhorrent things. And I will be discussing sexual abuse and incest in this section. So if that is something that is going to upset you, please skip to this timestamp. Before we even get into what Chris Chan did, we have to talk about how Chris Chan became Chris Chan. So Chris Chan first became known in the early 2000s through a webcomic called Sonichu, which was a crossover between Sonic the Hedgehog and Pokemon. Sonichu, Pikachu, you get it. That featured Chris as the main character. The comic itself was strange and deeply personal, which made it a perfect target, obviously, for early internet communities that thrived on mocking literally everything. And from there, things escalated. People became obsessed with Chris as a person. Forums dedicated to documenting Chris's life began appearing. People searched through her posts, contacted them under fake identities, and deliberately created scenarios designed to get reactions, which, again, same shit, different goddamn pile. Chris Chan became one of the earliest examples of what we now recognize as lolcow culture, a person whose worst moments become the thing that people know them for. And I will say, I am absolutely no way, in genuinely no way, defending anything that Chris Chan did. I am saying there are people giving them a platform. Chris Chan was far from innocent. But the thing that makes Chris Chan's story so complicated is that it's one of the first well-documented cases of the internet participating in the downfall of someone. Thousands of people spent years provoking Chris and pushing boundaries just to see what would happen. And long before the internet turned her into a spectacle, Chris was already trying to become someone online. She frequently shared super gross and personal details about her life, often with little understanding of how permanent or public the internet could be. And once people realized how much Chris valued attention, they began exploiting that desire. She posted about how she wanted to have sex with her mom. And obviously, this escalated, as it does. Chris Chan was essentially the blueprint for modern cringe and lolcow culture. She was cringe online with lots of discourse surrounding many facets of their life and personality. up until 2021.
Oh, celebrity scandals, all of that. And people just taking it, blowing it out of the water.
Yeah, I got you.
You may recognize or know my comic books I have drawn over the years and my chronicling and creations and discoveries of the Sonichu and Rosechu Pokemon species. And I am literally a goddess. And that will be proven in the near days to come as we are on the completion of the Dimension Merge.
When she was arrested and charged with incest after a fan leaked a phone call that revealed that she may have had sexual relations with her 79-year-old mother. So that's all I'm going to say about that. On to the next person.
No, you put the fries in the bag, dipshit.
Like a lot of modern lolcows, Nova Online's reputation came from a bunch of different controversies that stacked on top of each other until the person himself became secondary to the drama surrounding him. Nova originally gained attention from TikTok food reviews. In 2022, videos of him reviewing fast food started going viral.
Trying Taco Bell breakfast. Let's take my jacket off to get it to do with getting hot. This is very good. 8 out of 10.
And people became interested in him, less because of the reviews and more because of his personality. Like a lot of lolcows, he had a very specific way of talking and presenting himself that people found unusual. And that's usually the point where things start to go downhill for these people. So once again, once an audience stops seeing you as a creator and starts seeing you as a character, every decision that you make gets analyzed differently. Nova's biggest source of attention became his conflicts with other internet personalities, especially Tofiachu.
But at least I'm not like Tofupa, who sits on her lazy ass all day, probably collecting social security money like Chris Chan.
Ooh, crossover episode. The two became involved in a long-running feud where they repeatedly called each other out online, accused each other of hypocrisy, and then brought their audiences into the arguments, and then blah blah blah, same shit, over and over again. Nova criticized Tofia for things that he believed were problematic about her behavior, and then Tofia responded by bringing up controversies and accusations involving Nova. And obviously, instead of the situation ending after a couple arguments, it became a constant cycle where each response created another response. Online communities have discussed accusations involving inappropriate interactions, including claims about conversations with minors.
How I wonder where you are.
And allegations related to sexual roleplay involving age regression themes. And this is where I kink shame. If your sexual kink involves anything to do with children, you are a perverted freak. Before that point, most of the criticism around him was just making fun of his personality and the way that he acted and the way that he looked and things like that. Afterward, the discussion became much more serious, and that is where, like Chris Chan, the usual lolcow conversation becomes complicated, because as I've said 100 times in this video, and as I will say again 100 times in this video, there is a huge difference between laughing at someone because they're awkward and criticizing someone because there are concerns about their behavior. Like all of these people, the internet gave Nova a platform, but it also turned his life into something that people felt entitled to consume. Like most of my videos, I've spent a few months on and off writing this, and this is the category that I kept putting off writing. It's easy to talk about scammers, and it's easy to talk about people who lie or manipulate their audience for attention. You can argue about accountability all day, but this one is different. This one I might get a little emotional for. I genuinely might get a little emotional for this because this one really upsets me. When I see a video of someone like Daniel Larson or Joshua Block, I don't leave thinking, wow, what an idiot. I leave feeling really sad. Whew! I feel really sad because of us. There is this moment that happens during the uprise of a lolcow where you have to come to terms with the fact that you are watching a person. A person who has to wake up tomorrow and live with whatever happened today. While millions of strangers have already taken that and clipped it and reposted it and turned it into the funniest thing they've seen all week. And I don't know when we collectively decided that visible suffering was a genre of content. These people have all absolutely made bad decisions. Some have said or done awful things, and some of them have hurt people. None of that changes the fact that you can look at them and tell that something is wrong. Someone is having a mental health crisis, and the comments fill up, and it's like literally so funny until it isn't. Actually, maybe it was never funny. Because when I look at people like Daniel Larson or World of T-shirts, I see people who are clearly not okay. There's this really bizarre phenomenon that happens online where the more obvious a person's distress becomes, the less empathy they seem to receive. Every interaction with a stranger gets reposted with captions like, "Bro's actually cooked." And before anyone says, well, they chose to post it, I'd argue that that isn't the point. There are plenty of people who choose to post online because they're lonely, because they're mentally ill, because they don't have a support system, because the internet is the only place that pays attention to them. The fact that someone willingly uploads a video doesn't suddenly erase our responsibility for how we respond to it.
I learned to, when I'm in school, to do school and never quit, because if you quit, you won't know what to do. And if someone's trying to get you upset, don't let them make you feel bad about yourself. Just be good and make yourself feel happy.
Daniel Larson spent years posting videos that range from confusing to actually genuinely alarming.
I'm currently under attack. You need to let me on the team now.
He made claims about being a celebrity. He got into confrontations with strangers. He was repeatedly manipulated by people pretending to be managers or record labels or celebrities. And he documented what was very clearly a person experiencing serious mental health problems.
I just got in trouble with my probation officer for not following the probation rules.
And yet, instead of asking why this person had become the internet's newest attraction, thousands of people decided to make themselves part of the story. People started interacting with him to get him to do things. Entire Discord servers and Reddit communities existed for the sole purpose of seeing what they could get Daniel to do next. If you spend enough time online, you've definitely seen him. It maybe was him claiming to be a famous singer. Maybe it was him insisting that he was running for president. Maybe it was a video of him yelling in public. Or filming himself during some sort of confrontation. Maybe it was, I just woke up.
I just woke up.
Daniel's story is interesting because you're watching someone who, for years, appeared to be experiencing serious mental illness, while thousands of people decided to make themselves part of it. People would contact him pretending to be managers, record labels, security guards, celebrities, girlfriends, lawyers, government officials, any public figure. They'd tell him that they had meetings with him that didn't exist. They'd convince him that famous people wanted to work with him. They'd feed him fake screenshots and fake texts just to see if he'd believe them. And a lot of the time he did. Because this is someone that is very clearly mentally ill. People would send him across cities for meetings that were never happening. There were times that they convinced him that someone was waiting for him at restaurants or a hotel, knowing full well that obviously there would be nobody there. And then they would just sit back and wait for him to live stream the fallout.
You want a shirt? Tell him to bring it.
Okay, I'm on the phone with
Get out now.
You have the warrant for your fucking arrest.
Oh.
Imagine doing that to someone in real life. Imagine shaving a disabled man's head for shits and giggles when he truly believed that you were there to help him.
They said they'll come back.
Is that not completely insane? Does that mean that Daniel was harmless? Absolutely not. Of course it doesn't. He had many public outbursts. He has a whole fucking slew of allegations of domestic abuse and animal cruelty and racist slurs and vandalism and countless threats towards many people and establishments. And many of these incidents escalated to repeated arrests.
What's your tag on you? It's Daniel Larson.
Those things happened. They should not be forgotten. They should be criticized. However, here's the part that sticks with me. How many of those situations happened naturally? How many of those situations happened because there were hundreds of people in Daniel's phone encouraging him and lying to him and using him as their little puppet because he believed them? We'll never know. And by the end of his time online, Daniel's reality had become so polluted by the internet that it was almost impossible to separate genuine decisions from manufactured ones. That's what bothers me the most about people like Daniel Larson. People would comment that they hope that he'd get help, and then they would just refresh his page to see what happened next. You cannot spend years treating someone's mental decline like episodic entertainment and then suddenly pretend that you were just a concerned observer all along. The same thing happened with World of T-shirts.
I'm not 21 yet, so I can't get the coronavirus. Sucks to be you guys.
Joshua Block started out making videos around New York City, documenting like his routine. He would sing, he would show us new places, but around the time that he turned 21, alcohol slowly became a really big part of his online identity. At first, it was like the occasional drink. Then drinking became a recurring feature of his content. Now it's almost impossible to separate Joshua from alcohol. As his drinking became more frequent and his behavior became more unpredictable, as we see with severe alcoholics often, his audience grew. And instead of people saying, hey, maybe someone should step in, maybe we should call someone, maybe we should get a wellness check, the internet did what it always does. Once again, it just refreshed the page.
Gosh, put the fries in the fucking bag.
You put the fries in the bag. I'm gonna kick your butt!
Every time he went live, people tuned in wondering if he'd be drunk. And of course, the worse things got, the bigger the audience became. Accounts appeared whose only purpose was tracking where he was that day and how many drinks he's had. Joshua has spent years surrounded by viewers who buy him drinks and encourage his reckless behavior. He has absolutely, again, done some insane shit online, including animal abuse and racist slurs. These people all got this shit in common, but that isn't even what any of his main controversies are about. And that's what I think separates Joshua Block and Daniel Larson from other people that we've talked about so far. With someone like Tyler Catastrophe or Tofia Chu, you can at least argue that the attention comes from controversy, that people only watch because they don't like them. You may get some humor out of them, but their main thing is that people don't like them and are mad at them and things that they've done, and they use that as a reason to justify making fun of their looks or their personality. With Joshua and Daniel, the controversy is their decline. People think that their spiral is hilarious and entertaining.
We're going to the fucking jewelry store! We're going to the jewelry store. I'm calling us an Uber. We're going there now.
And oh my god, it's literally so funny that Joshua Block just vomited all over himself on stream because he's so drunk that he can't function again. Just like he was last night, and the night before, and the night before. People are waiting for their next spiral. And every time it happens, thousands of people tell themselves that they're watching out of concern. You can find thousands of comments saying that they hope that they get help. But you can also find those same people tuning in every single night to watch them not get it. At the end of the day, I think the biggest question surrounding lolcow culture is not whether those people deserve criticism. Some of them do. I would go as far as to say that most of them do. They have done things that deserve real life consequences. But this is not accountability. We have created a system where a person can do something bad, become a meme, and then spend years trapped inside of that one moment forever without ever being held properly accountable. And maybe the most uncomfortable part is that this system does not exist because these people are uniquely fascinating. We look at them and we go, that could never be me. I would never do anything like that. We like the feeling of being above someone. We like having someone to point at and say, at least I'm not that bad. The people discussed in this video are not all the same. They have all done genuinely harmful things, all different things. Actually, some of the same things, but there is a common thread between them. I'm gonna get too woke. It's because they're not conventionally attractive. When a hot person does something shitty online, oftentimes we see people either forgiving their behavior, ignoring their behavior, or just not watching them anymore. If someone is not conventionally attractive, the internet has a way easier time of completely dehumanizing them. If someone is unattractive, the internet has a way easier time ridiculing them publicly. And instead of properly holding them accountable for their actions or just not engaging, people go, OMG, you're ugly. And the uncomfortable reality to this is that a lot of us have participated. Maybe we didn't make a fake account or directly message Daniel Larson trying to convince him that we were somewhere else. But we laughed and we sent it to our friend and we commented on it and we reposted it and we quote it from time to time. Holding people accountable is supposed to be about preventing further harm. It is not supposed to be an endless punishment where millions of strangers get to participate in someone's humiliation forever. If you see a lol cow, don't engage. People do not learn from their mistakes if all you do is say, OMG, you're ugly. People cannot heal from genuine mental health crises or drug addictions or anything like that if all you do is engage. Do not engage. Close TikTok, turn your phone off, put it down, and go for a walk. You don't need to engage. Anyways, got a little heavy there at the end. I love you all. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but I think it's going to be pretty good. So, again, if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I love you all dearly. And you look really nice today. And your haircut looks really good. Bye!